Here's how the Journal describes a letter Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, the letter bearing Trump's name, which was reviewed by the Journal, is bawdy, like others in the album. It contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. A pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. The letter concludes, happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret.
Yep. So, to me, that's just another nail in the coffin, I guess, because they're obviously they're obviously like referencing some surreptitious activity. It can't be anything good that they're referencing, right? I mean, they have to be talking about some secret illicit practice they're engaging in. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? I don't know. Do you think it could be referencing like a young girls, perhaps? I could be reading too much into it, but
Well, the Wall Street Journal definitely wants you to have that implication. You know what I mean? Like they definitely want you to make that leap as the reader. Like they're very much steering it that direction. Just by the editing of all this. But I mean, who knows? I mean, it's a birthday letter. I mean, this thing could mean a million things, right? I mean, but it sure does look bad, doesn't it? I mean, it looks awful.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, if it were like a normal birthday letter, like "Happy Birthday, pal" or whatever, and it was just that, then it wouldn't be so bad because we already have him, on videotape, like partying with the guy and hanging out with him and all that. So a birthday card wouldn't be so out of left field, but I mean, the way this message was written, it just sounds like they're concealing something. Uh, it's overtly saying they have a secret between them. Uh, yeah, I mean, so it is a bad look, and uh, it, it is strange too because uh, it's kind of artsy in a way. Like, I don't know what you could call the style. I mean, it's almost like a free verse poetry. It's not really relegated to any particular form or anything. Like it's not like iambic pentameter or anything, and it's not in stanzas, but it certainly does seem poetic. I mean, yeah, it's kind of surprising that it came from Trump, and I mean, I think it probably did. I'm like 95% certain it did. Trump is suing them. He's, the Wall Street Journal, or well, or the media holding, I guess, but he's claiming it's not authentic. But I just got to think there's no way they'd publish it without verifying it.
Yeah, I mean that's awful risky of them. Now I will say the Murdochs are who own the Wall Street Journal, who they also own Fox, right? So it's not like they're totally against like publishing and stuff that isn't always true. And I'm only referencing the Dominion case for that. But there is quite a difference here. I mean, the Wall Street Journal is like a legitimate, I mean, it's right leaning, but it's a legitimate news service. You know what I mean? So the idea that they are just making all this up, completely fabricating all of this, I think it's very, very dubious. I think that they have something. It's just whether or not it's valid or not. I'll tell you what though, the Wall Street Journal is very confident in what they have. So, and from what we hear, I mean, this could just be the first of many little droplets. I mean, now that we've got some serious, like, competent eyes looking into the Epstein thing, I mean, who knows what we're gonna uncover? I mean, this is gonna be fun. I'm actually looking forward to the uncovering.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. This is definitely a fun time to be paying attention to the news for sure. And I tried analyzing the message. I really couldn't. I tried to see if there was like a hidden message in there. Like I tried to decode it, but it is really enigmatic. I mean, it really could mean just about anything. And I'm of course painting my own impressions onto it because we all know what Epstein was up to. But I mean, honestly, if you read this note in a vacuum, you would assume these two were perhaps in a homosexual relationship. You know?
Let's not go too far there. Let's calm down a little bit, Darren. Jesus, trying to get us sued by the
Well,
president? The hell's wrong with you? Um,
all speculation, Donald. All speculation. But I mean, yeah, it's certainly not something that it's not something I would send to my buddies. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
I
as a
mean, listen,
birthday
look,
card.
it's a little ominous. It's a little oddly worded. But I mean, like you said, this could mean literally anything. This could be in reference to, a joke that they had made when they first met. I mean, this could literally be in reference to anything. And unfortunately, we'll never know because Donald has every incentive to lie right now, and Epstein is dead. So unfortunately, we'll never know unless old Maxwell wants to come out and say, "Well, it's exactly what you guys think."
It's possible she might. She might. Then again, I think maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the I don't know what legal loophole holes she can exploit, but I have been hearing that maybe there is a way she could get out of this mess since Trump's claiming there's no files and stuff like that. So it's like, well, if there are no files, why am I in jail? The president says there's no files, so it'll be interesting. She might actually be able to worm her way out of this.
Well, and that's actually it's a little bit technical too, but just for the audience, right? So, Ghislaine is not at all. So Jeffrey Epstein is accused of actually sleeping with minors. All Maxwell is charged with is really just trafficking, right? But it's specifically tracking it to other people besides Epstein. So if the White House and the DOJ is saying, "Hey, Jeffrey Epstein, it was just about him. It was just about him." Well, then, and the files don't exist. There was no client list. There was no nothing. Then, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Then what did what did Maxwell do exactly? Like it's like none of this makes any sense. But they're changing their
Yeah.
story every day. I mean, you got to keep in mind, like, just for the people who couldn't keep up with this news cycle. I mean, the Trump administration was like, "All right, listen, we're gonna release the files. All right." Pam Bondi had them on her desk. Cash Patel said you're gonna get the footage, and then they come out and they say files don't exist. There's no incriminating list. What are you gonna do? And then Trump overrides that and says the files are actually a Democratic hoax, right, by Biden and Obama, right? He says this on like Truth Social or something. And then this letter gets released, and then he says, "That's it. We're gonna release all the pertinent information from like a grand jury." And it's like, wait a minute, I thought it didn't exist. What? But we just can't keep up. We just
Oh yeah, they're just all over the place. They don't know what they're doing, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure he has every incentive not to release it. I don't think we're gonna get any information out of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and
But
well, Thomas Massey, him and Ro Khanna obviously had a bipartisan bill to pass the Epstein files, basically force the Epstein files to be released to the public. And Mike Johnson basically said nope. because they're going into recess, which for the audience that doesn't know, that means that they're going to have the entire month of August off, and they're going to be back home with their constituents, fundraising, doing all that. And so we're not going to vote on this until September at the earliest. So I agree with Darren. The chances that we get anything substantive is basically zero. There's just too many people to protect. The Democrats won't vote for it because they just can't let go of the Clintons for some reason. And of course, the right can't hurt Trump. So
Yeah, that's the calculus. But I hate to leave it at such a short segment, but I think that's really all I wanted to say about it.
well,
I couldn't really just.
if you don't mind, I've got a couple more I'd like to ask you, and then we can.
Oh, okay, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So why this whole thing has been bothering me because I'm still under the assumption because we don't know anything that there's nothing incriminating on Donald Trump in those files. I in my heart don't believe it, not yet. You cannot ascribe PDF to a person unless PDF is proven, in my opinion. Okay, so why avoid the transparency? Like, why not be transparent if that's the case?
Uh, I'm of two minds. Honestly, I think if his hands really are clean, then I think it's a matter of he's being threatened by an intelligence agency, whether that be foreign or domestic. I'm thinking Mossad. And I think that's totally plausible. But I mean, also Occam's razor is that he's just in it. And honestly, if it was anyone other than Trump, that's probably what I would just assume de facto. I wouldn't give them any more charity. So
Right, but
just looking at it,
I'm saying even if he's in there and it's not incriminating, why not be transparent about that?
uh, yeah, I mean, the only way that makes sense to me is like an intelligence factor, like threatening him, or if he's like protecting someone he holds dear, but in that he doesn't want to ruin their life.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, who would that be? I mean, like Dershowitz or something. I mean, they have a okay relationship, but I don't think he cares about him that much. To take all that he's been taking. I don't think he cares about Dershowitz that much. So I don't know. I mean, to me, I just think not only is he in it, which he is, his
He
name
admitted he
certainly.
was. I don't know if you saw that. He
Yeah.
admitted he was on Fox.
Would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration,
Right.
they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me.
Yeah, I mean if I'm being totally gracious to him and there was some like fabricated bull crap about him in there, then I totally get why he would want to suppress it because even if it is fake, it just optically it looks better to cover it up and for it to never come out than for it to come out even with false information.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit of afraid of like not being able to control it once it's out. Like if you release it totally, redacted from the victims and there's no video of the acts. But if you get like for the most part full content Epstein files, you can't control what's gonna manifest after that. You know what I mean? And he's worried, I think, that his supporters are like where there's smoke, there's fire type thing. Like they're gonna be like, oh, he's in there. This is how close he was. They were best friends. He was writing birthday cards. They started, like Epstein was at Mar-a-Lago. He hosted model contests there. People will see that, and once it's all like officially out in the open, I think he's worried that that'll be enough for people to make that next leap. similar to the Wall Street Journal, right? It doesn't say that he did anything incriminating, right? He's just relying on the reader to make that next leap, right?
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
so I think that that's part of it, but and he also knows, by the way, he can't just delete his portion of the Epstein files because if he does, then people like Comey will know, Brennan will know. Like there's too many hands on this. So he knows he can't simply just delete it. And I think he's honestly, he's probably just totally fine with Pam Bondi taking the heat, because everyone seems to be blaming her and they don't understand that the attorney general literally takes direct orders from the president. So she's only doing this because that's what Trump wants.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think I did see him defend her at least once in the recent past over this. So he's being a somewhat good boss, I guess, but in terms of defending his employees. But
Yeah, unique
yeah,
for
I mean,
him. Unique for him.
yeah, yeah, I mean, lucky for him, his base, I think it will forgive him very easily. Battered woman syndrome, I guess, and yeah, they'll just blame these ancillary figures, Pam Bondi,
Oh,
Cash Patel.
100%. Um, okay, last question and then we can move on. I know you wanna, but I just gotta know with all of the mainstream with this story going mainstream, right? And we have some competent eyes, like the New York Times is looking into this, Wall Street Journal's looking into this, right? All the major news agencies are talking about this. Is this going to be something you think that haunts his presidency, or do you think that this is ultimately going to lose steam?
Um, I subscribe more to the like nothing ever happens kind of like outlook of the world. Ultimately, I think you give it by the end of September. I think this will have lost a lot of steam by the end of September. I just don't see it staying around. I mean, because it was a much bigger story in his first term, and I mean, it was huge. People talked about it. People forgot about it though. It didn't take too long. We have short memories in this day and age. These big news events, they just don't stay in the collective conscience for very long. Yeah. Again, I think by the end of September, it'll be out of pretty much everybody's minds, and things will go back to normal for him. But what say you? Do you think it might pick up? Do you think there will be more revelations that kind of keep it alive? Where are you at?
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the ironic parts of it. So there's actually been a decent amount of uncovering since the mainstream media. I mean, obviously the Wall Street Journal article. There's other news agencies that are said they're vetting more stories, uncovering more like random one-off facts. They're quote mining, right? And I think what that's actually doing is it's actually undermining the story amongst MAGA's base. Like nobody, like Benny Johnson doesn't believe the letter, Ben Shapiro doesn't believe the letter, Charlie Kirk doesn't believe the letter. Okay, if they won't believe it from the Wall Street Journal, right, then there's just no one that they're going to believe it from, And I think that due to that, it's going to lose steam just out of necessity, or it'll just be like a left wing thing. It'll become a left wing coded issue, which would be totally ironic and hilarious if that is. But the idea that this is going to carry to the midterms is just a fantasy. So I think we agree on that.
Yeah, I think we do, and that is funny because and it's been known to happen before where these like fringe issues will kind of flip their coding, like being a vaccine denier. That used to be left wing coded many years ago. It was associated with like hippies,
Right.
but now it's definitely a right wing coded phenomenon. Very enmeshed with like MAGA and then RFK, those types of people. So yeah, yeah, it might, in a funny twist, you very well could be right. It might become a left-wing coded issue in the near future, honestly. All right. Well, yeah, I have been wanting to talk about it. I did see it this weekend on Sunday, and before I go into any deeper analysis, I've got to say, in terms of superhero movies, I've got to say it's one of the best I've seen in a long time, if not one of the best I've ever seen, in terms of how it kept my attention, the pace of it, the aesthetics. I liked the aesthetics. Yeah, it was a really really well made movie by James Gunn. So I give him props for that. What were your kind of initial thoughts just about the film itself?
It's actually really funny. You brought up the aesthetics in my notes that I'm looking at. It literally says the aesthetics are unbelievable. So that's just really, I don't think there's any denying that. Like the special effects, the aesthetics, everything from like the suit to the costume to special effects, CGI, everything tremendous. I mean, pure cinema out of James Gunn. And I was a little skeptical at first because he's the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And I was skeptical because I was like, Superman doesn't really vibe with the Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'm not gonna lie to you, the special effects just unbelievable. The aesthetics, 10 out of 10. He captured everything you want out of a Superman movie in that regard. So, and in terms of superhero movies, I'm not a huge superhero guy. I would 10 out of 10 go watch that movie again. I thought it was nice. I thought it had a good message. It's great. Great movie. Great movie. Was there anything you didn't like about the movie? Or wish it could be better?
Mm, Honestly, nothing jumped out. Leaving the message of it aside, I suppose, and because we'll critique that in a minute, I don't think I really would have changed any. Yeah, I don't think I would have changed anything. Nothing. I didn't hate anything. Nothing jumped out at me, and I was like, nothing gave me the ick, as the girls like to say. So I think just in terms of that, it's a great movie. There are really no turnoffs in that regard. There was no like poorly done CGI. Even the dog, which was it was still like obviously CGI, but it was it was tasteful. It was tasteful. There are sometimes you'll see like a CGI dog or like a wolf or something, and it'll look just so fake that it just kind of kills the whole. Yeah, I don't know. It's like an uncanny valley thing, but that wasn't the case with the CGI animals in this film. Even the giant monster thing. So I have no qualms in that regard. But how about you? Were there anything? What did anything give you the ick? Like other than like maybe components of the message of the film.
No, nothing really gave me the ick. But I do have a few things that I'm just like, I wish this could. No, don't get me wrong. Still a great movie. 10 out of 10 would go watch again. Loved it. Amazing job. But a few things that I was like, come on now. Um, One of it was, it felt like, didn't it feel like to you that Superman just kind of got overshadowed by a bunch of the side characters? Like, for example, Mr. Terrific is going viral. The guy who plays Guy Gardner is going viral, and I thought Lois Lane stole the show, and I thought Luthor did a great job. But ultimately, like the superhero sidekicks, I thought like they almost like, why is Superman getting sidelined here? You know?
Yeah, I mean, he was certainly the most important, but I will say he was, I guess, spoiler alert, but he was incapacitated for a good chunk of the film. So, were it not for his helpers, he really would
Yeah,
have
it
been
doesn't.
screwed.
That's the other thing too. It doesn't give like Man of Steel vibes where he's like untouchable base. And I understand again, spoiler. Um, he was fighting a clone of himself, you know? So I guess there is that. But then honestly, like the plot to me, it just seemed very, very surface level. And this is James Gunn 101. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad, the plot is like it's like skin deep. You know what I mean? When you're watching a James Gunn film, you're watching it number one for the music, then for the action scenes, the aesthetics, and then maybe some sort of messaging, you know? But overall, the plot, I would not put this as like a superior plot movie. I thought, you know, eh.
Yeah,
Not
I do
bad,
get what you.
not bad. I'm just saying, like, it's just eh.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. Certainly, I I would have liked to see him more. Like it did suck that he was incapacitated for such a large chunk of the movie. But I do gotta say, I mean, I do like that they made him vulnerable to some things. I mean, because you know, if he had this like godlike, unbeatable strength and just was punching his way through everything and didn't have to use his head at all, it would almost be a far more boring movie. And that's kind of always the problem with Superman is that he's just so powerful that it's hard to give him like a good conflict to overcome.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And I'm not saying that I want him to be like vulnerable or like cardboard, like, you know, but I just felt like he was a little too much like that in this film. Like, I don't want him to be like completely invincible. But and I understand what you're saying. I mean, that's the difficulty in like crafting a storyline for him, especially against like Lex Luthor is just a guy, you know. He's just an Elon Musk. He's just a billionaire. But I do see what you're saying. But also, I'm just like, it wouldn't have hurt to just see, like one or two scenes where this dude just goes to town on whatever he was fighting. That's all I'm saying. Even if it was like a monster,
Yeah.
just like, or an alien invasion, something. And I do think that it was also a little overpacked with action, just a little bit. I would have sacrificed a little bit of action for the plot. But like I said, great movie, great movie.
Yeah, he certainly was probably the least powerful Superman I think I've ever watched. I mean, there was one Superman movie where he flies out of the earth and spins around it so fast that he turns back time.
Right.
So, he's certainly not that powerful. And I think Henry Cavill's Superman would probably uh, beat him handily as well. So, but, I'm all for him having to struggle a little more to win. That's fine with me. He's still the biggest badass in the universe, I think. So,
True, true. All right, Darren, let's get to the controversial part of this podcast where we may agree or disagree. What'd you think of the messaging?
uh, well, the obvious parallel, and this take has been said many times, but it's obviously there's like I guess a side plot in this movie, or one of the plots, I guess I should say that it's very obviously an allegory for the Israel-Palestine issue. Just kind of in the aesthetics. I mean, like the Palestinian coded people, the Jaran. Oh man, I didn't write down the name. Oh, Jaranpur. Yeah, that's what it is. They're like these very Palestinian, brown coated people, and they're literally like behind a fence in like a desert, with like pitchforks, like trying to defend their lands, and the these Baravians, which are these like very obviously Israeli Jewish coded people, they just like steamroll the fence, and basically it's just a total disparity in firepower, and it's I mean immediately the mind goes to that. I mean, I don't think you could really interpret it any other way. I do think there are elements of like a Russian. I think it's an allegory for multiple things in a way. I do think that the villain is a little Russian coded as well, like the names they were given, and then the accent. It sounded more Russian, more so than like uh, how the Israelis sound, in my opinion. So I think there was an element to that, of that for certain. But I mean, it certainly evokes Israel versus Palestine more than anything. Do you concur?
Yeah, it's actually funny because I actually like went into the movie. I saw no reviews. I saw nothing, no spoilers, nothing. And I go in there and I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. This is an allegory for Israel Palestine. I was like, the guy even kind of looks like Netanyahu with Einstein hair. Just thought it was a little funny. I
Yeah.
was like, they're being a little, they're not being subtle here. You know which I thought was just
Oh yeah. It was
hilarious.
certainly overt. The message was very exoteric, I guess. And there was also a message of kind of at the end where it was like, I want to say pro immigration or pro illegal immigration, perhaps. This is a bit of a spoiler, but at the end, when Superman defeats Lex Luthor goes on this miniature monologue and or tirade, I should say, and he calls Superman an alien. Obviously that evokes illegal alien. And then Superman has a bit of a monologue and how he talks about how he's a human like everyone else, and he's a very nice person. Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean that. So there was like some messaging in that as well. That's definitely another theme in there that I think James Gunn wanted to introduce. Oh, also, on that theme, I forgot to mention it, but like Lex Luthor, I think he might be an allegory for ICE because he says something there at the end. I wrote it down. It's something like the government gave him the right to kill Superman. So, one way or the other, he's going to do because he's an alien. Like he specifically says it like that. So I do think, yeah, that certainly evokes like, immigrant themes.
Yeah, so one of the areas I actually disagreed with, like most of the people in like the political sphere about this, is I actually did not read hyper immigration message into this. I can see why people do. Like if you've got politics on the brain like you and I do, and especially immigration like I know you and I do, then I can see how you got there. But I honestly feel like we're just kind of reading into things here. I really don't. I mean, it's very minor. I would say the references to being an immigrant. Um, like,
What?
like Lex's motivations for killing Superman is not because he's an alien, right? It's because he's like one of these metahumans that he can't control. You know.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I do think these films are created by like very sophisticated individuals. So I think they do, they take a story and they work within a story's confines. So we have the story of Superman, but which already is an allegory for other things. But we take the story of Superman and then they try to subtly superimpose their own message behind it, and that's what makes a piece of art like valuable is like the message, or behind it, what it evokes, what it makes you feel. So so the exoteric thing is reading is like, oh well, Lex just disliked him because he threatened Lex Luthor's power. But the esoteric reading is that Lex hated him because he was an alien.
That's just fascinating. And you're confident in that interpretation. Like you don't think that there's at all a way you could be reading into this here a little too much.
No, no, I think the filmmakers, all great artists, they want you to think deeper and they want you to read into it a little more. At least they want certain audiences to sometimes, or sometimes they want everyone to take a message, get a message out of something for sure. I don't think the story is just the story. I think in pieces of art, when you're dealing with sophisticated people, there's also a more subtle message that they definitely want to get across.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's true, and the when you write a good piece of fiction, then the whole is bigger than the sum of its parts, you know what I mean? That type of thing where there's these hidden messages within films. That's definitely true. I just, I don't know about it here. Um, I couldn't even tell you if James Gunn has a history of doing this or not. So, I no doubt the dude leans left though. I don't think that's in dispute. I just, it's whether or not he was attempting to install like a pro-immigrant. Um, I mean, to the extent that there was like a pro-immigrant message, it was just kind of like, they're relying on the audience to be like, okay, that's kind of horseshit how they're treating Superman just because, um, but
Well,
but
well,
but you're counting that as like part of the, you know?
oh, most certainly, most certainly.
Okay.
I think it's almost not even esoteric. I almost don't even think it could even be. I don't even think it's all that subtle. Honestly, I think it's very overt. I think that's a core theme of the film is pro immigrant, pro illegal immigrant. In fact.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and to the other point about James Gunn having a history of these things, I will say I haven't actually watched this film, but I have seen like stills of it, and like I believe I saw the trailer for it. But there was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and apparently it had like themes of like being against animal cruelty, and I believe there was a scene where Rocket Raccoon was being created in a lab or something, and so he's like an experiment, basically that's why he can talk even though he's a raccoon.
Hmm.
So I think I think he is like basically a liberal guy, and he tries to put these kind of themes and messages in his films. So I think I don't think it's totally out of left field to think he might put some more liberal themes in his works.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, no doubt that, these directors out in Hollywood are writing their fiction based off of like now the agenda is not the right word, but their fiction writing is informed by their ideology, their upbringing. That's just it's unavoidable, Um, it's just I don't know if you're right here, but maybe I just I'm missing it. Maybe it's too subtle for me, um but I'm also not a big movie critic. Like I try not to deep dive into movies as much, so Maybe I should pay closer attention. Maybe I'll catch up on this.
I could be going schizo mode. I don't know. I could be going
Well,
schizo
you're
mode,
you're
but
not the only one with this theory. That's not how I'm trying to paint you. I'm just saying that like I personally did not see it as much as it is being portrayed on social media and on all these, Reddit forums that you're on. You freak.
Well, let me circle back though, because I do want to touch on another theme, because you do agree that the pro-Israel, not pro-Israel, I mean the Israel versus Palestine, more pro-Palestine theme that is in the film. You would agree with that, right?
Oh yeah, I thought that was an unavoidable conclusion to draw.
Okay, okay. So I do have some interest. I think I have some thoughts on that. Maybe the viewers will find it interesting. In case the viewers don't know, uh, Superman was first created by Jerry Siegel, who was the writer, and Joe Shuster, who was the artist. And both of these fellows are of Jewish descent. And I believe that kind of they took themes from their upbringing and kind of inserted them in Superman. Just one of them being like Superman as an allegory for Moses, because Moses, he was sent down a river in a basket by his sister to be raised by a different set of parents. Similarly, Kal-El, he's sent down to Earth through a spaceship to be raised by these Kansas farmers. So, a different set of parents. So just from the get-go, that's part of it. And I do believe, I am a believer that there are a lot of Jewish themes about Superman. And then I was also thinking, because the main antagonist of this film is the nation of, or well, not the main, the secondary antagonist of this film is the nation of Moravia. Uh, and Moravia first actually appeared in comic book format uh, in 1939. I have written down. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. August 19th, 1939 is when Moravia first appeared, and it was on an issue of it was on it's Superman #2. And I'm thinking, just off the get-go, Moravia, well, what does that sound like? Bavaria, right?
Uh-huh.
Germany?
Sure.
I'm thinking that's exactly what it was originally intended to be about. And I say that, I mean, it was first published on August 19th, 1939. Well, I think that date is a little conspicuous because, a month later, Hitler invades Poland.
Whoa,
So,
whoa, whoa. Austrian painter. Austrian painter. Jesus.
oh, well, we'll just censor it out. Yeah, I don't know. We can say it on you. We can say that on YouTube, right? I don't know. I don't.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
I'm just being a jackass.
Well, you might still censor it just on the off chance, even though it sucks to have to. But that's the world. That's the platform we're on, I suppose. Uh, but anyways, so yeah, I mean, the Austrian painter invaded Poland in 1939, and so you got to think, Mr. H. He was on his ascendancy in the years prior, so I'm sure that these two Jewish fellows, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, I'm sure they knew about him, and that probably informed uh, that probably was in the back of their consciousness. So I'm thinking, all these little factors are a little conspicuous. I'm thinking Moravia was originally intended to be, a symbol for Germany. And so it's interesting to see what once was a subtle pro-Jewish message, perhaps, is now being flipped around by a Gentile director in the year 2025 as essentially an anti-Jewish message.
Interesting. The irony, if you're right, the irony is stunning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, what are we going to title this? Is Superman anti-Semitic?
Well, it's we can't title it that, but it's I I I don't even know what to say to that. It just sounds a little far fetched. Is Baravia, right? That's what it is. Baravia. Is that even in like the
Mhm.
original Superman?
Yeah, it was in the original comics, Superman #2 in 1939 is when it came out.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is an allegory for it's that would be hilarious now if it was being used against the Jewish state of Israel. Wouldn't that just be just pure irony?
Yeah, yeah, I think that I think the irony has certainly played out, because I mean that's my reading on it. Just I just think there's too many similarities with Germany, and in the comic, the Baravians were white coated, so you know, I mean, you can read into that, maybe you don't, but I think it's plausible that it was supposed to be representative of the Germans.
Yeah, I do find it odd though that nobody has stuck a camera and a microphone in front of James Gunn and been like, "Hey, are you talking about Israel here?" I mean, have they done that? Am I just not aware? Like, I figure that would have gone viral if he had.
I haven't seen it if they have, and I do concur. It is odd that nobody has asked him that yet. He might be avoiding that, honestly, because I don't think that would bode well for his place in the industry. Honestly, if he came out as pushing a kind of anti-Jewish message.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Well, plus he's another dude that's like riddled with controversy already, right?
Oh, is he? I have seen that he had some like odd tweets back in the day, but
No, that's pretty.
nothing
That's pretty much
too.
what it was. I think he got. Did he get Me Too'd?
I think it might have been a light me tooing.
Okay, I
I Because
gotcha.
I think it might also just go back to his tweets. Like he had some kind of creepy, pervy tweets. I forget exactly what they said, but uh, that was kind of the vibe I got when I think back on them. They weren't anything that crazy though. I mean I don't think he should be condemned for them or anything.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to comment on whether or not these tweets were okay because I really don't know what they are. But I mean, yeah, like you said, the dude probably needs to stay away from controversy as much as possible. So, well,
Yeah,
overall, would you say that this is better or worse than the Infinity War series, like the Marvel universe?
far better. I've really grown to dislike Marvel, honestly. They need to know when to let a good thing die. Kind of like Seinfeld. Seinfeld ended after 9
Good
seasons.
thing?
Huh?
Good thing?
Yeah, you little fart. Seinfeld is freaking awesome. like the best. It's the best sitcom
Seinfeld is
ever
like the
made.
Nickelback of sitcoms. It's like everybody.
And that's another thing. That's another thing. Nickelback is an amazing band,
See,
and
yep, yep, yep. You
so is
lost. You
Daughtry,
lost the audience. You lost the audience.
and so is Three Doors Down, and everybody hates them because it's a.
Because it's trendy.
I honestly, it's a bandwagon. It's a bandwagon.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And that's no, I don't like Seinfeld because Seinfeld sucks.
I think you dislike Seinfeld because you are a contrarian. I think that is the real reason.
Oh, wow.
Because
real,
I don't
real
understand.
deep analysis there, Freud. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, you have an Oedipus complex, but